So just how much are churches in the United States costing the taxpayer? Well, according to a new study by the Secular Policy Center, U.S. churches receive $71 billion total in tax subsidies. Now, as I said, this is according to the Secular Policy Institute, which conducted this study. And it said if religious organizations, churches, synagogues, and mosques were taxed like low profit or for-profit agencies, it was found that this could generate up to $71 billion per year in tax revenue. And it further found that even if churches were taxed like other nonprofit agencies, this could still generate $16.75 billion in tax revenue per year. So I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you. So let's kind of break this down. According to the study, churches on an average annually receive $35.3 billion in federal income tax subsidies, $6.1 billion in state income tax subsidies, $26 billion in property tax subsidies, $41 million in investment tax subsidies, and $1.2 billion in parsonage subsidies. And finally, $2.2 billion in faith-based initiatives subsidies. That's a lot of subsidies. Wow. Now, the study, there's more. You see, this study doesn't actually account for local income and property tax subsidies, sales tax subsidies, SECA exemption subsidies, donor tax exemption subsidies, increase in donations from donor tax subsidies, related business income tax subsidies, fundraising subsidies, or volunteer labor subsidies. They're getting a lot of subsidies, guys. So we're giving all these subsidies to the church, to churches, mosques, synagogues, etc. For what reason? I mean, you guys are probably thinking, well, you know, there are plenty of reasons. Well, first of all, it's just what we've always done. It's what we've always done. And we can't do that because, well, we just can't. Well, actually, we can. See, there's nothing in the First Amendment that says that we can't tax churches, as long as it includes everyone. We can't just tax one and do the other. That would be preferential treatment. Well, we can't do that. So we tax all of them. So why do they get so many breaks? Well, you ask a lot of people, and they'll say, well, it's because churches do great things, right? They do good deeds and charitable works. You know, they do a lot of good for the poor with that money. That's why they have that tax exempt status. They need that money to help the poor. They need the money to help the poor. Now, the Bible is pretty clear on its stance about taking care of the poor. However, that's not the case. They're not exactly taking good care of the poor. Now, this is according to reports by Secular Humanism. Religions are quick to, say that they do a lot of stuff for the poor, right? Now, ironically, for Christians, well, the Bible says don't. Matthew 6:2. It says, don't do good works and then tell everybody about it. You're supposed to do good works in secret, because that's better for the Lord. You know what I mean? That's how you really honor the Lord. If you're saying, I'm such a great person because I gave so much money to the poor, you're not doing it for the poor. You're doing it to get recognition. It's not exactly godly, and Matthew 6:2 points that out. Now, as for how much they're giving, well, we've got some examples here. Now, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church, gave about $1 billion to charitable causes between 1985 and 2008. Now, that seems like a lot, right? However, divide it by the 23-year time span, and you realize that the church is actually donating about 0.7% of its annual income. Where's the rest of it going? Where's the rest of that going? Exactly. It ain't going to charitable works. Now, other churches aren't so flagrant. For example, you have the United Methodist Church. Now, they allocated about 29% of their revenue to charitable causes in 2010. That's about $62 million of $214 million received. Now, one calculation of the resources expended by 271 congregations found that on average, and this will blow your mind, that operating expenses totaled 71% of all the expenditures of religions. Most of that, they say, goes to pay ministers. Uh-oh. Financial contributions addressing the physical needs of the poor fall within the remaining 29% of expenditures. Now, while these numbers may be higher as a percentage of income than typical charitable giving by corporations, they're not hugely higher. And of course, that depends on the religion, and are substantially lower in absolute terms. Now, they make a comparison between churches and Walmart. Now, Walmart gives about $1.75 billion in food aid to charities each year, or 28 times all the money allotted for charity by the United Methodist Church, and almost double what the LDS Church has given in the last 25 years. And yet they, the churches, have a tax exemption. What the fuck? It seems to me that what you have is a lot of churches that are actually being run more like a business than a church or a charitable organization. Now, I understand that you have to pay your pastors, right? And I've got a little bit of an anecdote in this. I have a friend who was once a pastor, Jordan French, and he didn't get paid very much doing it. He got paid very, very, very little. So I'm not condemning all churches. Obviously, you're going to get examples. You're going to get small churches that don't do this, that actually do give a lot of charitable giving. But when it comes to the big ones, they're getting away with paying pastors a ton of money while giving only very small token amounts to charity. And this is all while raking in massive donations and tax subsidies. And the thing that really bothers me about it is that a lot of these bigger churches, they preach politics from the pulpit. That's one good reason they should be taxed, because now they're getting into political activity. Now, I realize that it's not just right-wing evangelical churches that are getting into political activity. There's also African American churches that align more to the left, more liberal. Now, they organize some really great get-out-the-vote efforts in, the cities. But we can't play this partisan game when it comes to religious institutions. So I'm sorry. I would still advocate for taxing those left-leaning churches as well. Fair is fair. The Constitution doesn't take sides. And besides, there is a constitutional basis for the taxation of churches anyway. According to Patheos, it's a violation of the separation of church and state as declared by the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution for the government to grant tax-exempt status to religious organizations. So it's a violation to give them tax-exempt status anyway. Why are we not challenging them on this? As for what I say, and I know it's going to be an unpopular opinion, but tax the churches, tax the mosques, tax the synagogues, tax the temples, tax them all. It may not be the popular position, but at least it's the constitutionally consistent one.